The national championship is finally here for the college football playoff, and we have the Indiana Hoosiers playing the Miami Hurricanes, and we are going to break down every single bit of this game, talk about the players. We got tape to show you. I'm college football's honesty broker, George Wrighster. This is one of the fastest growing college football channels in all of the land. So make sure that you guys like, share, subscribe, get notifications, and most importantly, tell a friend about the show. So you have Indiana, who comes into this game as an 8.5-point favorite. This game is in Hard Rock Stadium, so this is essentially a home game for Miami, even though they may not be in their home locker room. We got number 1 versus number 10. And I can't even imagine, like, if you had put together a bracket in the preseason of who was going to not only win a national championship, but who was going to play in the 12 teams, nobody could have gotten all 12 teams right. And this is exactly what we needed in college football. The parity, it is special. And no, the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Georgias of the world, the Oklahomas, they don't like it. The SEC doesn't like it. But you know who does? College football fans, because this is what we deserve. If you put together 3 years of great coaching, right transfer portal guys, right high school guys, you should be able to win a conference championship and then participate in the college football playoff. So that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother time. But let's break down the film. We're going to talk about every single aspect of this game. So we have Indiana, who comes into this game 15-0. 9-0 in the Big Ten. And as insane as it sounds, they are excellent. Indiana, they've made a believer out of anybody who's doubted. So Miami comes into this game 13-2, 6-2 in the ACC. They got in, the committee put them in at the very last minute over Notre Dame. And turns out that was by far the right thing to do. And they had already beaten Notre Dame 27-24. That's a whole nother thing. And Indiana got here. They beat up Oregon in the semifinals. They beat up Alabama in the quarterfinals. They have been dominant as possibly you could be. And now Miami, on the other hand, they have had tough games the whole way against Texas A&M 10-3, Ohio State 24-14, Ole Miss 31-27, a comeback victory. But you still have to understand that this is still the team, even though that they're playing significantly better now, that lost to Louisville and lost to SMU. So it feels like Miami has a more likelihood to play down, but don't pay no attention to that. The weather, this is Miami. It's January. Should be okay. You might get some wind, but you shouldn't get any rain. So this is good for everybody. And there are at least 5 significant statistical advantages and disadvantages that are going to swing this game. You got the turnover margin, because Indiana is number 1 nationally, plus 21 on the season. Miami is number 12, which is, it feels like a gigantic gap, but both of these defenses are good at getting turnovers. We are going to start where we always start. Head coach versus head coach. We got Mario Cristobal versus Curt Cignetti. And Curt Cignetti over there at Indiana. This run has turned him into a full-blown program record. This run has turned him to a legend, a 2-year turnaround. And mind you, he's been a head coach for over 15 years. Man's been at IUP, Elon, James Madison. So do not make this seem like this is a guy who just came out of nowhere, a 2-year thing. You know, it's like when you do something special in life and everybody's like, he came out of nowhere. No, he didn't. He didn't come out of nowhere. He worked his ass off to get up here and get this opportunity. Mario Cristobal, elite recruiter. He goes back to FIU, to Florida International, where he got fired there, and then ends up with Willie Taggart up in Oregon. Then Willie Taggart leaves. He gets promoted to head coach, leaves to go to Miami, and he is who he is. Trench culture, elite recruiter. And Miami is now peaking at the right time. But the discipline of this team, it is a real conversation. Too many penalties, personal fouls, that could be the difference in this football game. Now let's get to talking about these quarterbacks, because you have Fernando Mendoza, Heisman Trophy winner, versus Carson Beck. Now, both of these guys are highly experienced. Carson Beck has played in a lot of high leverage games prior to this season with Miami when he was over at Georgia. Ton of high leverage games. And Georgia fans don't love him because I guess because he only got to an SEC championship game, they lost, and then he got hurt the next year. They were kind of out on a dude who I think was 24-3 for them, which is wild. So Fernando Mendoza, he has not played in as many high leverage games as Carson Beck has, because Carson Beck obviously had a ton over there at Georgia. But Fernando Mendoza, the fact that this season, when he got in the biggest moments, when you needed him to make a play against Penn State, when you needed him to make plays against Ohio State in the national championship, he's made them. He's made every single throw. He has been accurate. And this team, this Indiana team, is led by his study. They are led by his leadership. It is wild, which we will look at in a little bit. But I want to show you exactly who Fernando Mendoza is, because this throw alone in the Oregon game will explain to you, because a lot of people try to minimize what he does, because Indiana's offense on paper, very simple. Like they're not doing all these tricky concepts and all this stuff. They do a lot of pick routes. They are going to be efficient with back shoulder throws and everything else. But I want to show you who Fernando Mendoza really is. This is who Fernando Mendoza is against Oregon. Look at this throw, and I'm going to pause it. They are on the opposite hash, and this is a 15-yard out. Look, the DB is in very good coverage. If this ball is 6 inches the other way, it's a breakup. If it's a foot the other way, this is a pick six. And what does he do? Throw it right in the breadbasket. Mendoza is incredible with his accuracy and his decision making. And that's what I think that Miami is up against, even bigger than anything else. They are going up against destiny. They are going up against fate. They are going up against, obviously, a very good football team as well. All right, so now on to Carson Beck. 3,500 yards this year, 29 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And a lot of people have talked about and focused on like and I've talked about it, his blow up potential. That when he throws one pick, it'll usually be another turnover worthy throw coming at some point in time. The stat was if he has to throw over 30 times, he will throw you an interception. And then in the last game versus Ole Miss, had to throw it 37 times and threw an interception. Now, the thing that I am concerned about Miami and Carson Beck is it feels like if you were watching the last two games against Ohio State and then against Ole Miss as well, through the beginning of the game, it didn't feel like they trusted Carson Beck. In the Ohio State game, he didn't even complete a pass further than 10 yards down the field. And then in the Ole Miss game, in the second half, he didn't even complete a pass in front of the line of scrimmage until the last drive of the game. So why are you trying to protect the guy who can clearly do what you did at the end of the game, which is one of the biggest questions that I have. Miami and Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal, his profile as a head coach has been it is physically dominate you. But sometimes in that, they end up getting in rock fight games where a penalty here, a drop bad pass here, a time management error here will get you a loss instead of a win. And I want everybody to understand, I believe Carson Beck is a very good quarterback. He's starting to use his legs more. You're starting to see, oh, wow, like a next level of his game. Now let's talk about Miami's offense versus Indiana's defense, because Miami's how we score identity for them is run the football. And granted, Miami runs the football, and you're going to hear a lot about physicality, but this is a team that only rushes for 150 yards a game compared to Indiana, which is well over 200 yards a game. And that's a big difference. So as good as Miami is at running the ball at times, this is how you beat Miami, is to stop the run. That is how you do it. Period. Point blank, period. In their passing game, it is Malachi Toney. He's the guy. 99 catches, over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. Like, he's a value magnet. They are going to throw screens to him. They are going to do everything to get him the ball. Now, Ohio State keyed on him, and then that allowed Keelan Marion and CJ Daniels to be much more effective in the pass game. They're going up against a defense that is good at stopping the run. Can Carson Beck win from the pocket? Can they win from the pocket? Now let's talk about this Indiana's defense and how Miami can be successful against them, because this is the best turnover margin in the entire country, and it's not close. And that's the kind of stat that turns a close game into a two-score game in about seconds. See the Oregon game. Turnovers absolutely decided that game. And Indiana has been elite at taking away the ball. 18 interceptions gained while not having given it up very much. And that's a nightmare for a quarterback with 11 picks. It is. Indiana is top 5 nationally in total defense. Top 5. And they do a good job of getting you into third and long. And they do a really good job of affecting the quarterback by confusion. So let's look at a few clips from when they played against Oregon. This is a defensive look that you're going to get from Indiana a lot. I want you to pay attention to the safeties and the corner at the bottom. So the corner at the bottom actually has the deep half, and then the safety that was on the hash mark, he's now on the Oregon logo. They are essentially playing a version of cover 2 Tampa if you played Madden or anything else. So he's essentially where the middle linebacker would be. So but they have 3 underneath, and they're essentially playing similar to 3 deep, which is very difficult to find holes, especially when the linebacker, when the window here. Dante Moore for Oregon has a window to throw the guy on the bottom of the numbers, but that's a tight window to get through. And they're going to give you a lot of that coverage. They're going to give you a lot of this too. A similar package where they're rotating over too high. So you can have, like, this is what you see when you see Indiana a lot. I want you to look at the Oregon player on the logo. He is running butt naked. He is open. But the issue is, look at the quarterback being impacted by this simulated pressure. So look at Indiana's guys up at the line of scrimmage. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys at the line of scrimmage. And who's coming? Oh, the corner. D'Angelo Pons is coming as well. So you got 2 free runners running at the quarterback, and then Oregon is able to pick one of them up. But it's too late for them to get to a guy who is running wide open. This is the trouble with playing Indiana, is that there is so much confusion caused, and there are people running open, but they do such a good job of confusing the protection. So then they send it the other way. And if Miami can diagnose that, that is going to be successful. But the thing that also has not worked very well all season on Indiana is that they throwing screens on them has not worked very good. And Miami loves to throw inside wide receiver screens, which Indiana is very good at stopping. Now, the other thing about this Indiana defense, they are going to play zone coverage like 80% of the time. They very, very, very rarely hop in a man look. So that's the other thing that does a good job of confusing quarterbacks, because you don't know where the zone is at until post snap. And you have to do a great job of diagnosing it post snap, which is very difficult for some quarterbacks to do. Now let's look at Indiana's offense versus Miami's defense, because Indiana's offense, they're scoring 42 points per game, averaging almost 7 yards per play. And this is one of the most efficient offenses in college football. Now, when you turn on this tape, here's the truth. Miami is more talented in terms of the amount of players that they are going to send to the NFL. It's not close. But this Indiana team is special. And I believe that if they beat up Miami, that they'll go down as one of the top 5 college football teams of all time, and one of the top stories in college football history, going from one of the worst programs of all time, actually the losingest program of all time, to now a national champion. But for Miami, this would mean the U is officially back. That Mario Cristobal, that he understands the formula, and that they have taken that and then grown it to something absolutely special. Now, obviously, everybody knows about Fernando Mendoza. He won the Heisman Trophy, but it is their run game that ignites everything that they do. And if Miami can stop Indiana from running the football, there are problems to be had. So Roman Hemby and Kalon Black, they've rushed for Hemby has a little over 1,000 yards, and Black has almost 1,000 yards on the season. They got 17 touchdowns, and that's what they want to do. They want to run the football. Like everything starts and begins with there. And then from there, you have Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver. He's got 64 catches. Elijah Surratt, another 800 catches. And I want to show you because Oregon actually did a pretty decent job of getting stops on first and second down. But when it came to third down, the types of plays that Indiana made, I'm going to show them to you. First one, it involves Elijah Surratt, who I believe the Fernando Mendoza to Elijah Surratt back shoulder throw, it reminds me of Aaron Rodgers throwing to Devontae Adams. Now, mind you, I'm not saying that those players are comps. I'm saying the level of consistency which they're able to complete this. Watch it. So they get in third down situations. What more could you want the corner to do? He is blanketed on the wide receiver, and Surratt just finds a way to catch the football. He does this consistently. All of these 50-50 balls, he comes down with. And the same thing, I'm going to show you that Mendoza throw. This is the level of efficiency that you're dealing with this team. Look at that. He's throwing it in a phone booth. And people are looking at the Oregon team. Oh, the Oregon's defense was bad. I've showed you so many clips, and I'm going to show you more. Guys are covered. They are blanketed, and they just got beat with better throws, which is absolutely outstanding. And we've talked about Mark Fletcher Jr. in this run game. But let's talk about this offensive line, because everybody talks about the physicality of this team. And it starts with Francis Mauga. Let's watch them work. You see the level. I mean, this man is a dancing bear. And this offensive line, they are big, they are physical. You see how they're stoning this Ole Miss rush, giving just enough time for Carson Beck. And you see the physicality there of Mauga, the right tackle. Absolute dog. Absolute dog. And they do a great job of passing off stunts. They do a good job of passing things off the way stunts and things don't hurt them very much. And that's where that Indiana defense simulated pressure is going to try to cause problems for them. Now, the question is, will they be able to be effective at it or not? But now let's look at this Miami defense. This Miami defense, Akeem Mesidor, Reuben Bain Jr., Keontae Scott. Now there have been some injuries because Mesidor got a little banged up in the last game. Keontae Scott, he ended up getting a little bit hurt. Xavier Lucas is suspended for the first half of the game with a targeting call. But I want you to understand what this Miami defense is as well. They are disruptive. Now, their pass rushers, even though Mesidor has 10.5 sacks, Bain has 8.5 sacks, Scott, even as a DB, has 5 sacks. This is not a speed rush team. They can beat you with speed at occasion, but this is move, counter move, power all over the place. And now I want you guys to see Reuben Bain Jr. and how he goes. Look at this. Look at this move. Oh, he's number 4, sitting there in the lane. This is a lot of what you get with this Miami team. They are disruptive in the defensive line. You see 99 right there being a problem as well. Reuben Bain just running, keep working. It's their motor that is consistent. And then you see twists and slants and bum rushing Julian Sam. Some simulated pressure here, similar to what Indiana does, causing problems, forcing the ball out early. If you hold on to the ball versus them, they are going to make you check it down, and they are going to be relentless to the football and play with high physicality. And that right there, pass rush, speed rush, Mesidor on the other side, they're just collapsing the pocket the entire time, which makes it extremely difficult for you to be able to play against. If Miami can get home with 4 and stop the run with a light box, oh, Indiana's going to be in hell. In hell. And we actually haven't even seen Indiana's kicking game operate at a very high level. So if we got to trust between Miami special teams and Indiana special teams, I know who I'm choosing. Now let's look at the X factors for winning and losing for both of these teams. For Indiana, their X factor is that the turnover machine, that it stays on, that it doesn't go broken, that it doesn't go dormant in the biggest game of the season. They're number one in the nation in turnover margin. And if they do that, ain't going to be no last drive drama like Miami has had versus Texas A&M, where they got all the way down to the goal line, and against Ole Miss as well. Ain't going to be none of that. Ain't going to be no Hail Mary drama if that's the case. For Miami, it is penalties and discipline and sack timing, because Miami cannot give away free first downs. With penalties, they need to impact the game on third down and in the red zone and in 2 minutes in the first half to make sure that they are affecting Fernando, Mendoza, and not giving them time and stopping this run game. That is the thing. Now, my prediction in this game, the line, Indiana is an 8.5-point favorite, over under 48.5. Indiana, I got Indiana winning this game, -8.5, later points. I'm not leaning Indiana. I believe that we're in the middle of a 30 for 30, a special season for this Indiana team, and it is going to climax and end up as one of them stories that we look back at like, yo, do you remember that team? This team will be looked at like, like the NC State team that beat Georgetown. That's what we'll be looking at this like. We'll be looking at this like one of those underdog hero stories that you're like, can you believe that they won? Kind of like that. All right, you guys. Hope you guys love the breakdown. Make sure that you guys like, subscribe, get notifications, stay on the channel, and tell a friend about Unafraid Show.